please help me welcome back Daniel Stam.
Involved with the film, we'll just come down there real quick, that we don't lose too much time, and we'll introduce a pretty amazing group of people to whoever's left in the audience after this. Are you okay in the first rows?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just pass the microphone around and they can introduce themselves, because I always blank and suddenly don't know the names of my cinematographer that I spent 3 years every day and night with. So, this one I know.
I'm Brian Udovich, producer.
I'm Matt Tilley.
Yes.
I'm Dalton, I was shooting most of it. Andy Haight, sound design.
Shelley Isaacs.
Andy Hay.
Valerie Hurt.
Pause for Valerie.
Hey, Michael Trenor.
I'm Candy McCulty. Brittany McCulty.
Doris Usui.
Omia Tahi.
And introducing.
Hi, I'm GJ Extra Camp. You really had to pee, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Kanima.
So before we open it up to the audience, I'm just wondering if you guys could talk about just the process of making this. Was this scripted? If not, how did you go about just filming this together and structuring the treatment or script?
What we had was a very rough outline. We kind of knew the arc. We knew there was a filmmaker who was going to make a documentary, and then the suicidal guy doesn't want to kill himself anymore, and the manipulation starts. But the dialogue wasn't scripted. The dialogue was all improvised by the actors. And what that allowed us to do, we shot in chronological order, so we could actually kind of react to what the actors were doing, what they were coming up with, and then the story really kind of developed from there. And we shot 150 hours of material over 3 years. And there are a lot of subplots that we shot that never made it into the movie. Yeah, but that's what we ended up with.
Could you talk about what motivated you to come up with the idea, considering you spent 3 years working on it?
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was going to spend 3 years on it. When I first emailed the actors and said, "Great, do you want to come on board? It's going to be a 2-week shoot." And I believed that. I told them, "Bring your own lunch," and they did for the next 3 years. But the idea actually comes from my roommate in Germany, who came up with the idea that he wanted to make a documentary about a real suicidal person. And he immediately dropped the idea, but it always kind of stuck with me that that would be an interesting project to shoot a film about a documentary and making that.
Could you talk a little bit about working with the actors? Just the process?
I don't know. I mean, we just, as soon as they arrived and we did that, there was no rehearsal. Normally, if you have a script, you do a lot of rehearsals, and then once you've seen the scene once the way you want it, you would kind of switch on the cameras. And here we had the cameras running all the time, that's where the 150 hours come from. And the good thing was that because the actors kept their own names when we were shooting, we could shoot every moment. We could shoot when they had lunch. They didn't even know that we were shooting them. And we shot the rehearsals, and we shot a million takes for everything. And what happened a lot of times, and you can probably talk more about this, is that they got so tired after the 30th take at 4 o'clock in the morning that they got frustrated and they got kind of angry with the process and angry with me. And there's this one beautiful shot with Val where Val really had to get to work, and she said, "We can only do like 5 takes of this." And I wanted one more take, and she got so pissed off at me, which is when she says, "I don't want any of this, Daniel." She means that. And that was very rewarding in a way.
It's also probably about 2.5 years in, too.
Right.
That was a solid 2.5 years in. The 2 weeks, I think I was pretty accommodating. Yeah. And Daniel's also very famous for the phrase "last take, last take."
Which again, I never say that if I don't believe it. I believe it at the moment I'm saying it. Just, You want to talk about the process?
I think you covered it all, really.
You know, yeah, that was it. The 100 takes of everything. I think the real funny part was near maybe year 3, when like he had us dress up in like sheep masks and fence in the front yard, and he's like, he had so many subplots. And at this point we're like, we know this is not gonna be in the movie. Daniel, just edit this thing. It's like, no, sheep masks. Go fence. Bonding.
It made sense at the time.
If we could open it up to the audience, we have time for questions.
I think this is an extraordinary achievement. You made something without sensationalizing it ever. It was always had a sense of truth and reality, and not going over the top. I'm very much interested in how you were able to keep a cast, your key cast, for 3 years. Is it because you all were going to AFI? Was this made under AFI auspices? And otherwise, I cannot imagine the dedication of the actors, because I've worked on a lot of films, and this is extraordinary.
Thank you.
And I have one added question. Did you always know the ending?
The first question, how do we keep the cast? You have to trick, fool, and lie. You know, because the end, it wasn't as if anyone ever knew how far and how long it would take. It was the ending of the project was always right around the corner, and I believe that. So it was always like, just come in, do this one more scene, and that was fine for about a year. And then they kind of got suspicious and got more reluctant. And then we cut, Shilpa, our editor, cut this trailer together to get them excited again, of 5 minutes. And we made sure everyone kind of had the same screen time, you know, so that everyone thought they were the protagonists. And that worked for another year. And I think by then, what happened is because they didn't have a script that they were just kind of repeating, but they really developed their own characters. So they lived with these characters for, I mean, I'm just speculating. I hope that's what happened.
Helsinki syndrome.
It was Helsinki, yeah, Stockholm syndrome. We just didn't know better. We just kept coming back, yeah, brainwashing, and then...
There was a blackmail at that point, too, because we'd already gone this far. So it's like, we're going to lose the 2 years that we already put in, because we don't want to do one more day.
We were like junkie gamblers, hoping for a film to come through.
I was hoping they would say how phenomenal the process was.
I would say something positive. I mean, honestly, I felt like when you're making your own character and making your own dialogue, you get really invested into it, and it feels like yours. And I felt like all of us felt like we were collaborating, we weren't just actors. I felt like this was my movie. I still tell people I directed all the time. Half the people here think I made this movie. So, sorry.
Half the people here think I made this movie. So. At the ending, we shot 2 endings. We shot one that the film had a different ending for the longest time, which was kind of the straight documentary ending. You know, there was no twist, no Hollywood ending. It was just Matt goes into the garage, shoots himself. We hear the shot, and Gilbert comes out of the garage, and we see on his face that he has just witnessed what he is responsible for, and that is going to break him. That he's not going to be able to live with it. And there was this beautiful acting moment, probably his best in the film.
Cut.
Yeah. And I mean, what happened is I screened a rough cut of this at a film festival in Kosovo, and with the other ending. And I didn't say it's not a real documentary. And after the movie was over, there was absolute silence. And I didn't really understand what was happening. And I got up and I walked down the aisle and I heard this sound. And there was a girl that had broken down, was lying in the aisle twitching. And the guy next to her had his face in his hands and was rocking back and forth, and the tears were running down his forearms. And I ran around and I told everyone, it's fake, it's not real, it's actors. But they went straight from shock into fury. I would have thought they go, yeah, great film. Yeah. They left out that step completely and went straight into screaming. And there was one girl actually, before I could even say it's fake, who grabbed me and shook me and screamed at me, "You're a killer, you're a killer, you could have saved him, you shouldn't be allowed to make movies." And the festival organizer came running up to me and said, "Whatever you do, don't go outside, there's a mob gathering." In Kosovo. You know. And it just wasn't good. It's when I came back to Los Angeles and I told the team, they were like, "Great, you know, that's all we've been, that level of realism is what we've been working on." But these people were really wounded and felt that I had kind of punished them for emotionally investing in this guy's fate, you know. So we were thinking, which wasn't the goal, no. So we were thinking, how can we kind of soften the blow and how can we get it to a level where, where it feels a little less real. Like you tonight, you all knew that it wasn't real, probably. But, so you wouldn't have needed that.
No. I'm just crying like crazy because I thought you transformed the guy in a killer.
All right.
That's live. What the hell are you doing here? And yes, I went from like, I don't know, despair into fury.
You should have seen the other ending. Because
I mean, you had just told the guy to kill her. How worse can it be? I mean, if he had just killed himself, I was okay with that. But killing someone else, I mean, he's a normal person and he becomes a killer.
Right.
You should put at the beginning, this is fiction.
Which we had 3 screenings at South by Southwest, and the first 2 we didn't say that it was a narrative.
But it was in the narrative section.
It was in the narrative.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to clarify. And these guys are all very self-deprecating. These guys are, these filmmakers, and we did take this to South by Southwest. It was a narrative. In the narrative, it was very blatant in the catalog that this was not a documentary, but we didn't go out of our way to, throw it in people's faces. And we had the audience turn on each other during Q&As. We could have just put the microphone down. And so on the third one, Daniel got up there at the Alamo Draft House in front of 250 people and said, "This is fake. The actors are over there." And before the whole screen, it still didn't matter. 10 minutes in, I'd say about a third of the audience forgot that you had said it. And at the end, we're sitting there crying. But this is what I want to come back to, is that these guys are like a family. These kids that were together for 3 years, when I came in, it wasn't like working with the director and his actors. It was like going home for Thanksgiving. Like these people had been working together for so long. They were such a family, and they had such a lingo between them. There was just no animosity. It literally was like going home to somebody's house for dinner. But I was just astounded at how brilliant Daniel had weaved a narrative, and at how brilliant I thought that this is a modern device on how to tell a narrative, much like Rachel Getting Married, or is it Rachel Getting Married or At the Wedding, or one of those things, or Cloverfield, or it's this generation now has this single camera look that I think is a brilliant way to convey a narrative. And I think that this was structured in a way to completely, this is why you go to theaters. To be, to have your emotions go high and low and laugh and cry. I get emotional because I love this guy. I think he's a brilliant auteur. And so I'll stop before I go too far. But, yeah.
As much as I love taking credit for all of this and how I weave the narrative, really, you can imagine if someone as unfocused and chaotic as me shoots 150 hours of material over 3 years, it's really the editors, Shilpa Sahi and David Kashavara, who kind of made the story out of that. I mean, I was there for it, and kind of helped out as much as I could, but really there wasn't a narrative in my head before I brought them all the material, and they really shaped that over a really long amount of time. Any more questions? Yeah.
2 things. So I noticed you used most of it, I think all the real names of the actors. And what made you decide to do that? And also I want to ask just you, what it took to do that, to act as suicidal.
We kept the names just because I thought it was easier for the actors to improvise, because I didn't want to have to throw away takes, because they were so in the moment that they used each other's real names. But in the film they were called Vincent and Pia, and then they call each other and we can't use it. And also that we could shoot every moment that these actors were actually standing with each other, and they didn't have to be in character. We could still use it for the film, so it was just convenient laziness.
Okay, how did I act suicidal? Well, first of all, Daniel never once said, I want you to act suicidal. I never once thought, okay, this guy is going to commit suicide. How are you going to act? How does someone act who's going to commit suicide? Because it just wouldn't look real. From a lot of research, we realized that someone who committed suicide, if you interviewed their family, they'd be like, a week ago he was fine, we never knew anything, I can't believe this happened. He was happy, he was at Thanksgiving, he was celebrating, we were having a great laugh. So you don't act suicidal, otherwise people would probably be in chairs going like this and it would be really crap. So it's like, you know, so I never once thought, let's act suicidal. I just went on this guy's journey, which happened to be him killing himself at the end. And that character just happened.
We got the subtle sign from out there that we have to stop. But if I can just remind you, you all got the little thing to vote for the film. Every vote counts. Yes, we can. And if you're like me, you probably have thrown it away by now. They are going to give you more of those if you haven't thrown it away, and another one out at the exit. And same for the cast and crew, because it's such a small theater. Please vote favorably. Thank you, everyone. Please get out on the internet.